Hi class, Happy New Year. Welcome to some of our online learning. I wish we were learning together in class, um, and I hope that we'll be in class soon. I hope that we'll be back in a few weeks so we can continue with our math classes together in person. As you can see today, right now, I'm in the classroom still, but by myself, which is not as much fun. What I thought I would do in this video is I'm going to go over, just as a review, some of the lessons that we did in class together in the last week before the holiday. So these are lessons that we have already done, but for those of you who were away or want a review, I thought I would make a quick video just going through some of the same lessons again, just with pencil and paper. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch my camera so that you can see what lessons we're going to work on. And in this video, we're going to work in, for you, it would be your green booklet. So my paper today is white, but for you it's green. And if you want, you could pause the video now so that you can find your green booklet. You should all have this booklet in your binders, and this is called Cycle 3. And what we're going to work on together is adding and subtracting fractions, which we did in class, but I thought we would do together just as a little bit of a review to learn it again. If I'm adding two fractions, if I have 2 parts of 5, then that means to shade in 2 parts. And if I add 1/5 or one more part, now how many do I have colored in? I'll have 1, 2, and 3. So my answer would be 3 parts out of 5. So you notice the bottom always stays the same. We have the same denominator in each fraction. And now I'm just adding the numerators together. 2 plus 1 is 3. Subtraction is very similar. My first fraction is 2/3, 2 parts out of 3 in the whole. I'm going to take away one of those parts. So let's say I had 2 slices of pizza and I give away 1 slice. Well, I've only got 1 slice out of 3 left. So my answer would be 1/3. Again, you can notice that the denominator, the number on the bottom, stays the same. And I am subtracting on the top. 2 minus 1 equals 1. Our last example here, 1/3 plus a half. Why don't we draw that? I've got 1 out of 3, 1/3 of a piece of pie. Then if I add a half, now it's harder to see what happens because I don't have the pie or the pizza or the whole split into the same number of parts. I don't have the same denominator, the same number on the bottom. So it is tricky or difficult just to look at the picture and know how to add. So to ever add or subtract fractions, we want the same number on the bottom. And the way we write that in math class is we say common. Common means the same or shared denominator. And we know the denominator is just the number on the bottom of the fraction. Okay. So what we're going to do today is learn how to add and subtract fractions when I do have a different denominator. You look here, we're going to do example 3 again. If I'm going to really add these together, I need to have the same number on the bottom. I need to find a denominator that's shared. So I'm going to count by 3s. You can use your multiplication table. We've done this before. 3, 6, 9. So I'm counting by my denominator 3. And I'll do the same here, 2, 4, 6. And I'm looking for a multiple that they share. What's the number that I see in both lists? Well, they share a 6. So we can use a 6 as our common denominator. Now I have the same number on the bottom. Well, what goes on top? Well, I've got 1, 2, 3s, and 6. So I'm going to do times 2. 1 times 2 is 2. And how many 2's go into 6? 1, 2, 3. So I need to do times 3 on the top. So I have 3 6. Now I'm adding two fractions with the same denominator. It's just like these examples 1 and 2. So I keep the denominator the same, and I add my numerator. 2 plus 3 equals 5. So my first step is to write equivalent fractions with the same denominator, and then I just have to add or subtract the number on top. Let's do another example. 3/10 plus 2 6. I can't add them right away because they are different numbers on the bottom. Instead, I can write out my multiples of 10, 10, 20, 30. You can just add a few. And then I'm going to list my multiples of 6, 6, 12, 18, and we'll keep going until I notice a number in both lists. Do you see a number in both lists? Okay, cool. They share a common multiple of 30. So I want to rewrite both fractions, but now with 30 in my denominator. What number do I write on the top? Well, I've got 1, 2, 3 10s into 30. So I did times 3 on the bottom, so I have to do times 3 on the top. We always do the same to top and bottom. 3 times 3 is 9. How many 6s go into 30? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you could always look that up on your chart or just count. 6 times 5 was 30. So I need to do 2 times 5, the same on the top. 2 times 5 is 10. Now I have the same denominator. My last step is just to add. 9 plus 10 on the top is 19. That's my numerator, and my denominator stays the same. 9 30ths plus 10 30ths. Well, now I've got 19 30ths. I have 19 parts out of 30. Let's do one more example together. A little bit tricky to multiples of 24. You might want to use a calculator. I think it goes 24 plus 24 is 48. Plus another 24 is 72. And then I can list my multiples of 8. 8, 16, 24. Oh, I see a number that they share. Their shared denominator is just 24. I'm going to have something over 24 take away or minus or subtract another number over 24. Well, 11 over 24, I didn't even change that. That's just times 1, so it stays the same. How many 8s go into 24? 1, 2, 3. I do times 3. So 2 times 3 is 6. Always the same on the bottom and the top. I just count how many go into our shared multiple, which in this question is 24. My final answer, the denominator, the bottom stays the same, and I just subtract my numerators. 11 subtract 6, and I have 5 over 24. So in order to subtract or add fractions, I need to have the same denominator, and then I just add or subtract the numerator. What we did in class is practiced on our own. If you aren't done these in your booklet, you could do them now. The questions, the first row, they already start with the same number on the bottom. So it's just one step. Denominator stays the same, and I add the numerator. 1 plus 3 would be 4. And that's going to work the same way for these next two examples. If they have different numbers on the bottom, that's when I need to start listing out my multiples using my times table to find something they share. So I count by 2s, 2, 4, 6. I count by 3s, 3, 6, 9. What do they share? That's going to be my common denominator. What goes on top? Well, I've got to do 1, 2, 3, so it's times 3. 1, 2, so it's times 2. 3 minus 2 is 1, that's my numerator, and my denominator stays the same. So I do need to do 2 steps, 2 lines of math when I need to find a common denominator before I add or subtract. So I want you to do these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 questions, and also all the questions on this next page. The only trick, and we went over this in class, is if I have a whole number, one whole is the same as saying it's one part out of one whole. 4 wholes is the same as saying, well, it's 4 wholes, and each whole is just split into 1, or it's not split at all. So if I have a whole number, a number that I can count on my fingers, that's the same as saying over 1. And that's going to let us find a common multiple for all of those questions. I think that might be the only trick. I want you to practice those. And I will post the solutions on our Google Classroom as well. So that's our first review lesson on adding and subtracting fractions.